All right, my friends, welcome back and thank you for joining me in taking time to think today. This is going to be a little bit of food for thought, a life lesson. I want to talk about the taming of the tongue. Let me ask you this. Do you remember the first time that you ever got in trouble for shooting off at the mouth? Probably not. Probably not. But do you have a first memory of when you got in trouble for spouting off? I do. I certainly do. And this involves my mother, as many of my incidences did. I was a child who liked to push buttons and test things and see how far I could push, and just I always wanted to find out what the limitations were. And I always knew what they were, especially with her. But that never stopped me from trying. And I was probably about, I don't know, maybe about 5 years old. It was either before I was too young to go to school, or it was during the summertime. But we were at home during the afternoon, and my mother was a strict disciplinarian. She was, she she comes from strong German stock, so they have a strong work ethic, and they believe in doing things a certain way, and you had better well do them that way. And I'm not against that necessarily. I It doesn't mean that I wasn't going to test it though. So, so anyway, I was probably supposed to do something like clean my room before I went out and played. It was probably something like that. But I didn't do that. I went outside. I remember my younger brother and I outside in the back. We were either on the swing set or on the jungle gym, whatever you want to call it. And my room had a window that looked out into the backyard. All I remember is my mother opening that window, leaning on her two arms, yelling out at me and saying, "Gregory, I thought I told you to probably clean your room before you went out and played." Well, yeah. I did something that I knew I shouldn't have done. And I don't know what possessed me other than the unquenchable drive to test things out. My response to her was, "Shut up, Mom." Now, I was always taught, first of all, you never say those two words to anybody. But you certainly don't say them to her. Now, I had just committed the unpardonable sin. She she said nothing. All she Listen, guys, I can't express the gravity of this situation enough. All she did was the imagery is still in my mind. She slammed that window down, and I knew what was coming. I could hear the thud of her feet traipsing through the house, working their way to in my direction. Now, probably not literally, but in my mind I could. The earth was quaking. It still scares me to think about it. She comes charging out of that back door, and I knew that I had not better run. And I didn't. And it wasn't because I wasn't a coward. Oh, I was. She got a hold of me and thrashed me within an inch of my life, which I well deserved. I got a lot of that growing up. Well deserved. And I'm glad I did, because now some incidences are disputable, and I've let her know. She has not budged, which I wouldn't either if I was her. But that was my first memory of spouting off the mouth. And I've had many others like that along the way. And to tame my tongue is still a very big challenge for me. It has gotten easier as I've gotten older, because I've had enough consequences that I want to mitigate further punitive damage. But it's something I've struggled with all my life. And you know what? You have too. Everybody has. This is so much of a problem that's actually written about in the Bible quite a bit. What brings this to my mind is, as I was reading through the book of James, there's a passage here that I want to share with you out of James chapter 3. I'm going to only read the parts that are relevant to this conversation. But listen to what he says about the untamed tongue. He says, if any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, meaning a complete and mature man, and able also to bridle the whole body. If you can get a hold of the tongue and tame that, you're a mature person. Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so, the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind. But the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith bless we God, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. Doth a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine, figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. The imagery in this passage that I read to you is quite vivid. Bridling a horse's mouth, controlling the ship with the helm. The tongue is a little member. Yes, it's just a little part of our entire body, yet it does the most damage. It sets off a spark that creates a fire that overtakes nature, and before you know it, everything around you burns to the ground. It's funny how he says here that we as men, when I say men, I mean humankind, we have the ability to tame beast, don't we? Which, if you think about it, is quite remarkable. We can tame beast, but we can't tame our own tongue. And you might say to yourself, well, the things I say are not that consequential. They're just a little spark. I mean, a little spark is better than a big fire, but that's how a fire starts. You know, we live in a day and age when people are very proud to shoot off the mouth. There's videos galore of people expressing themselves, either making the videos or just appearing on them for whatever reason, giving people a piece of their own mind. It's encouraged. It's encouraged to flap your yapper. And yet people don't think enough about what they're saying before they say it. They pivot off of their emotions. They speak from a place of rage, of anger, of lust. Whatever it is, it's out of control. And it gets us into trouble time after time after time. And I've experienced this my whole life. We spout off to our bosses. We spout off to our spouses. Even our children. I mean, I'm talking about in ways that they even don't deserve. We express ourselves to people in traffic and even become more animated in ways that get us into trouble. You see the stories. There are potential troubles that could have been diverted, de-escalated, if we just would have kept our mouth shut or chosen a soft answer. But we oftentimes choose not to do that because our ego gets in the way and we feel we must be the conqueror. And we always use our mouth. I've said a lot of things that have not only gotten me in trouble, but have hurt people quite a bit. And I've done that not only through the tongue, but I've done it through the pen. I write better than I speak. And there have been times when people have offended me, and I have written letters or I have posted things that are very sharp and very scathing, but very well worded, and I was very proud of myself. And I look back now on those things with extreme regret. I'm not proud of those. But we let ourselves be ruled by our tongue, by our emotions, by our thoughts. We always have to give people a piece of our mind, don't we? Well, no, we don't. We don't. President John Adams said something one time that I really liked a lot, and I want to share it here with you now. He said, "There are persons whom in my heart I despise, others I abhor. Yet I am not obliged to inform the one of my contempt, nor the other of my detestation. This kind of dissimulation is a necessary branch of wisdom, and so far from being immoral that it is a duty and a virtue." You don't have to let everybody know what you think of them. You can keep some of it to yourself, Save it. Save it. Because you might change your mind later, or you might have subverted some real problems. Another way people let their mouth get them into trouble is by complaining, by whining, by leveling a gripe against something or somebody, or about a situation they don't like, and it makes you look terrible. You should try to curb your complaining, your nagging, and think about how you want to respond. Now, regardless of how you feel about Elon Musk, there's a lot to like and dislike about anybody. But one of the things I've noticed about him in interviews is when he's asked a question, he takes time to think before he answers. So much time, in fact, that I think it makes people feel awkward. But what it does, it makes him appear confident, or perhaps more wise than what he is. Yes, he's a very intelligent man, but a lot of intelligent people aren't necessarily wise. But if you can control your tongue, you can appear more confident, more wise. And if people don't always know what you're thinking, it could make them feel a little uncomfortable and a little more cautious about how they talk to you, because they don't know what you're up to. And I think it's something that we need to think about. There's probably a lot more that could be said on this subject. In fact, when I turn this video off, I can guarantee you within the next 30 minutes I'm going to think of things I should have said on this video. So I encourage you to leave a comment down below, give me your thoughts, shed some light on something that I have not said here, and I think that other people reading the comments, and people do read them, I think that they'll walk away with something that they can use that might have been some kind of encouragement to their heart. I hope it's done that for you. All right, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't done so already, hit the notification bell, and share it with others. All right, if you want to know what I have in my beard today, I'm using Artius Man's Mountain Air beard oil. A lot of guys like Mountain Air. It's really, really nice. Very kind of minty, peppermint, something like that. It's very fresh. It's very fresh smelling scent. And then I also applied their beard balm. But I do have their beard butter that I will put in later today. Sometimes I wear beard butter during the day. Sometimes I just use it at night. But I do have their Artius Man beard butter, Mountain Air. And if you're interested in checking them out, go to artiusman.com. I'll leave a link down below. You can use my code GREG20 and it will save you 20% on everything there. I mentioned this in my last video and I'll mention it again. They have very, very nice wooden beard combs. that I would advise checking out. I love their beard combs, and I think that every bearded man should have a nice wooden beard comb he can carry around his pocket. All right, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I do recommend picking up your Bible and reading it every day, and I hope that that this has meant something to you. All right. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you guys on the next one. In the meantime, be wise.